The spread of COVID-19 accelerates in France, with 3 more deaths reported Thursday. Meanwhile, Palestinian authorities declare a state of emergency over cases in Bethlehem. Relative calm reported in Syria's Idlib province after a ceasefire goes into effect. Regional power brokers Russia and Turkey agreeing to halt their escalating confrontation. And thousands of migrants remain gathered at the border between Turkey and Greece. We'll have a report from our team on the ground. They say the situation is tense, with many people being sent back and forth by border police. Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom. Good to have you with us. The World Health Organization is warning countries to pull out, quote, all of the stops when it comes to slowing down the spread of COVID-19. The new coronavirus has killed over 3,300 people worldwide, with the global number of cases nearing 100,000. Here in France, this Thursday saw the biggest jump in new cases since the start of the outbreak. 3 more people have also died of the virus, bringing France's death toll to 7. Alexander Alcott has the details.
138 new COVID-19 coronavirus cases detected in France, the biggest daily jump so far, bringing the total number of infected to 423.
Among the 423 confirmed cases, 23 are in a serious condition and have been placed in intensive care. Meanwhile, the death toll has now reached 7, 6 men and 1 woman. Most of them are over 80 years old who suffered from pre-existing conditions.
The sudden spike in contaminations has raised concerns and prompted Emmanuel Macron to warn that the point has now been reached when an epidemic is inevitable. The president earlier held talks with 20 top researchers aimed at slowing the spread of the disease that has been reported in all 13 metropolitan regions of France, as well as the overseas territories of Guadeloupe and French Guiana.
We're looking for answers to the following questions. What is the interaction between the virus and the host? What does it mean when a patient is cured? Are they protected against new infections? To be clear, research is being conducted to make a vaccine, but there won't be enough available data for months, so it's not coming soon.
For now, the plan to combat COVID-19 is still classified in stage 2, though specialists predict that stage 3 will be reached in a maximum of 2 weeks. When that happens, the virus will be considered to be in active circulation throughout the whole of France, which could lead to the mass closures of schools and public transport.
Meanwhile, Palestinian authorities have declared a 30-day state of emergency after the first cases of COVID-19 were reported in Bethlehem. It means all schools, universities, and mosques in the Palestinian territories will be closed. All foreign tourist reservations will also be canceled, and West Bank authorities have ordered the closure of Bethlehem's Church of the Nativity.
We have closed the church, and it will be sterilized, and the situation will remain the same until we see how things develop. We have also prohibited the hotels from receiving tourists in the next 2 weeks.
Moving on now to other world news. According to reports coming out of northwestern Syria, Idlib province has been relatively calm since a ceasefire went into effect at midnight local time. The deal agreed by Turkey and Russia followed more than 6 hours of talks between Presidents Putin and Erdogan. It comes after their countries were brought to the brink of direct confrontation in Idlib, Syria's last stronghold of anti-Assad rebels and jihadist groups. Turkey supports the rebels, while Russia has been supporting Assad's forces in his fight to take back the territory. Brian Quinn has more on the agreement.
After over 6 hours of negotiations, a face-saving ceasefire, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Moscow Thursday to meet with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, the two leaders eager to contain rapidly escalating violence in the northwest Syrian province of Idlib, between Syrian troops backed by Russian air power and Turkish forces.
We don't always agree with our Turkish partners on the events in Syria. But each time there's a critical moment, thanks to the high level of bilateral ties we have achieved, we have always managed to find common ground on the disputed questions.
Thursday's agreement allows for a 12-kilometer deep secure corridor, 6 kilometers deep on each side of the key M4 east-west highway in northern Syria, to be patrolled jointly by Russian and Turkish forces starting March 15th. But the peace could be fragile, Erdogan making sure to insist that Turkey reserves the right to retaliate with full force to any attacks on its troops. It's not the first time Turkey and Russia have claimed to find a middle ground in the conflict. A 2018 peace deal inked in Sochi already established a ceasefire and a demilitarized zone. Recent weeks, though, have seen a spate of deadly ground clashes and airstrikes between Assad's Russia-backed forces and the Turkish military. Dozens of Turkish soldiers were killed during a renewed Syrian offensive on Idlib last month. Observers say Turkish retaliation has killed nearly 150 pro-regime troops. Idlib is the final remaining bastion of opposition territory in Syria. Nearly 1 million people have been driven from their homes by the latest fighting, in what the UN says may be the worst humanitarian crisis yet in the country's 9 years of grinding civil war.
Well, in the midst of the escalating conflict in Idlib last week, Turkey announced it was opening its borders with Europe. In the week since then, thousands of migrants have gathered at the border between Turkey and Greece, and the zone is becoming increasingly tense. This report from Catherine Norris-Trent, Abdullah Malkawi, and Bilal Tarabe.
Still camping out in the cold. The bus station in the Turkish border city of Edirne has been transformed into a migrant camp. Among the people here are many families, like Alia and her 5 children, originally from Iraq. They tell us they were transported here on a coach paid for by Turkish authorities.
The bus left us here by the side of the road. We didn't know where we were. Afterwards, we managed to go to the border and we waited until nightfall, but we couldn't get across. Now they want to drive us towards the river crossing, but we're staying here.
We don't want to go to the river. It's too dangerous. I have a younger brother. There's 5 of us children and we're afraid.
It's been a week now since Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan announced that Turkey was opening its borders to Europe, and thousands of people poured into this zone. But for the families here, the uncertainty is greater than ever.
Many feel frustrated, even in despair.
We're on the road of no return at the moment. There are pregnant women here. They took the risk to come here and they have nothing to go back to.
The states are committing a crime here, both Greece and Turkey. There should have been negotiations first. The gates should have been opened before all these people were brought here.
But in reality, many are at the mercy of authorities on both sides of this border. We film as Turkish police tell the migrants to clear the camp, ordering them to head back to Istanbul or take their chances at the increasingly dangerous border.
And finally, she was the last woman with a chance at winning the Democratic nomination. This Thursday, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren announced she is ending her campaign. Despite an early surge of popularity, Warren failed to win a single primary state. Unlike the race's moderate dropouts, who were quick to endorse Joe Biden, Warren has not yet said whether she will support the former vice president or her fellow progressive Bernie Sanders.
Will you be making an endorsement today? We know that you spoke with both Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders yesterday.
Not today. Not today. I need some space around this, and want to take a little time to think a little more. I've been spending a lot of time right now on the question of suspending and also making sure that this works as best we can for our staff, for our team, for our volunteers.
Senator,
I'm sorry?
It could be coming, but just not right now.
Not right now.
We're going to have to leave it there for this edition, but stay with us here on France 24. Coming up next is The Debate with François Picard.